Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty watching his sensors as space around human colonies began to change. The first signs were small at first. Strange energy readings that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Then the readings became stronger and more focused until something impossible started to happen. Ships began appearing from nowhere. Admiral Barnes called from her station. "I am reading massive vessels decloaking throughout human space. These signatures are enormous." Morrison nodded. "Those are our real ships, Captain. The ones we have been hiding for the past 3 years." The first vessel to fully decloak near Kepler 442b was the UHS Retribution, commanded by Commander Pete Johnson. The ship was 3 times the size of anything in the Vorthak fleet, and its hull seemed to shift between different colors like liquid, metal. The Retribution's weapons arrays were larger than entire Vorthak destroyers. Captain Kelly Wright brought the UHS Defiance into real space near Kepler 438c. The massive carrier vessel immediately began launching fighter squadrons that moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Each fighter was equipped with weapons that could destroy battlecruisers with single shots. At Kepler 452b, the UHS Sovereign materialized under the command of Captain Brad Stevens. The Dreadnought-class vessel was so large that its gravity field affected the orbit of nearby asteroids. When its main guns powered up, they created distortions in space that the Vorthak sensors could not understand. Morrison watched the tactical display as dozens of human warships appeared throughout the sector. Each vessel was more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. The ships moved without traditional engines, and their hulls were made from materials that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. "Sir," Foster called from intelligence, "the Vorthak fleet at Kepler 442b is requesting instructions from their high command. Their sensors cannot identify our ship classifications." Morrison smiled. "That is because they have never seen anything like our real fleet before." Commander Ryan Walsh appeared on the main screen from the UES Defender. Behind him, Morrison could see his bridge crew staring in amazement at their sensor readings. "Admiral, these new ships are incredible. The power. Readings are off any scale we know. How long have we been hiding this fleet?" "Since before first contact," Morrison replied. "Earth Command decided that revealing our true capabilities would make us a target. Better to let the aliens think we were weak while we learned about their technology and capabilities." Captain Danny Rodriguez contacted them from the UES Pioneer. "Admiral, the Vorthak are demanding to know where these ships came from. They are claiming we violated first contact treaties by hiding our military strength." Morrison felt his anger return. "Tell them we never violated anything. They never asked about our full military capabilities. They just assumed we were primitive and weak. The Liberty's sensors picked up a massive energy surge near Kepler 442b. Major Sam Parker was leading a squadron of Phantom-class destroyers toward the Vorthak battle group. The alien ships immediately raised their shields and prepared for combat. Morrison watched as Parker's squadron engaged the enemy. The Phantom destroyers moved through space like they were swimming through water rather than flying. Their plasma cannons punched through Vorthak shields like they were paper, and their gravitational torpedoes tore enemy hulls apart at the molecular level. "Vorthak battlecruiser Doomfang destroyed," Foster reported. 2 more enemy vessels are breaking apart. The alien formation is scattering." Morrison had seen reports about Vorthak weapons that could destroy planets. He had read intelligence briefings about their void torpedoes that created holes in space, but watching their mighty battle cruisers get torn apart by human destroyers was almost too easy. "Admiral," Barnes said, The UHS Retribution is requesting permission to demonstrate our defensive capabilities. Morrison nodded. Granted. Commander Johnson's massive vessel moved into the path of a Vorthak void torpedo. The weapon was designed to tear holes in reality itself, and no known shield could stop it. But when the torpedo hit the Retribution's hull, it simply disappeared, like it had never existed. How is that possible? Walsh asked from the Defender. Morrison pulled up technical specifications on his personal screen. Our ships use quantum phase armor that can shift between different states of reality. Physical attacks pass through while energy attacks are absorbed and redirected. More human vessels continue to decloak throughout the sector. The UHS Thunder, commanded by Captain Nicole Hayes, appeared near a Vorthak supply depot and demanded its immediate surrender. The alien facility commander took one look at the massive human battleship and complied without firing a shot. Morrison opened a channel to all human ships in the sector. All vessels, this is Admiral Morrison. Begin demonstration protocol. Show our alien friends exactly what human technology can do. What happened next would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries. Human ships began displaying capabilities that the alien powers had thought were impossible. Vessels moved instantly between star systems without using hyperspace. Weapons fired energy beams that traveled faster than light and could hit targets on the other side of the galaxy. Captain Lisa Barnes activated the Liberty's hidden systems for the first time since leaving Earth. The modest cruiser began to unfold, like a metal flower revealing weapon arrays and shield generators that had been concealed within its basic-looking hull. The Liberty is not our flagship, Morrison explained to his amazed crew. It is actually one of our smallest combat vessels. We just disguised it to look like our most powerful ship. Lieutenant Colonel Foster was monitoring communications across the sector. Admiral, I am picking up panic transmissions from Vorthak Command. They are ordering immediate withdrawal from all human territory. Morrison felt satisfaction wash over him. The same aliens who had laughed at humanity's toy ships were now running in terror from human technology they could not understand. Commander Tony Miller brought the UHS Devastator out of quantum phase near Nexus Prime Station. The massive battleship appeared directly in front of the Council Chamber's viewing ports, making it impossible for the alien representatives to ignore what was happening. "Sir," Barnes said, "we are receiving emergency transmissions from the Council. They want an immediate explanation for our actions." Morrison stood up and straightened his uniform. "Open a channel to Nexus Prime, all frequencies." The Alien Council members appeared on the main screen looking confused and frightened. War leader Thex Mull was no longer sitting in his throne. The Vorthak leader was standing at attention like a soldier receiving orders from a superior officer. "Honored Council," Morrison said, "you demanded to know where humanity's ships came from. The answer is simple. We built them." Quinara of the Zenthari spoke first. "This is impossible. Our sensors detected no advanced construction facilities in human space." Morrison smiled. "That is because you were looking for facilities that use your technology. Human engineering follows completely different principles." Dr. Nicole Hayes appeared on a secondary channel from the research vessel UHS Discovery. "The fundamental difference is that alien technology manipulates energy and matter, while human technology manipulates space-time and quantum fields directly." Zephyr Eel's musical voice filled the communication channel. "The Etherian Federation did not sense these capabilities in human minds during our psychic scans." Morrison's smile grew wider. "That is because human consciousness operates on quantum frequencies that exist outside your perception range. You were reading our surface thoughts while our real minds function in quantum space. Elder Mostar spoke in his ancient voice. How long has humanity possessed this technology? Since before we left our home system, Morrison replied. We just chose not to reveal it until we understood who we were dealing with. The tactical display showed human ships throughout the galaxy. Vessels that had been hidden for years were decloaking near every major alien world. The message was clear. Humanity could strike anywhere at any time, and there was nothing the alien powers could do to stop them. Morrison looked at the alien representatives on his screen. The Vorthak Empire has 24 hours to withdraw from all human territory and provide reparations for the Kepler 442b massacre. After that, we will demonstrate what human weapons can really do. Thexmol's red eyes were wide with fear. The Vorthak Empire acknowledges human territorial claims and will comply with all demands. Morrison nodded. Good. And to answer your earlier question about whether we violated first contact treaties, we never lied about our capabilities. You simply made assumptions based on incomplete information. The channel closed, and Morrison turned to his crew. Helm set course for Kepler 442b. It is time to show our people that help has arrived. 3 weeks after the council meeting, Morrison was awakened by emergency alarms screaming through the Liberty. He rolled out of his bunk and grabbed his uniform as red lights flashed in his quarters. Something was very wrong. Captain Barnes was already on the bridge when Morrison arrived. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking as she handed him a data pad. The information on the screen made Morrison feel sick to his stomach. Vorthak battlecruisers attacked Kepler 442b 2 hours. "Ago," Barnes said. "They destroyed our orbital platforms and landed troops on the surface. The colony is under siege." Morrison stared at the reports coming in from the human settlement. Kepler 442b was home to 5,000 colonists, including families with children. They had farms and schools and a small spaceport where supply ships landed once a month. "Casualties?" Morrison asked, though he did not want to hear the answer. "Over 2,000 confirmed dead, sir. The orbital defense platforms were destroyed in the first wave. The colonists had no warning." Morrison felt rage building in his chest. The Vorthak had not just attacked a military target. They had murdered civilians, including children who had never hurt anyone. Commander Ryan Walsh appeared on the main screen, calling from the UES Defender. His ship was 3 days away from Kepler 442b, and his face showed the same anger that Morrison felt. "Admiral, what are your orders? My crew is ready to jump to the colony and engage the Vorthak fleet." Morrison wanted to give that order. Every part of him wanted to send their ships to fight the lizard monsters who had attacked innocent families. But he knew what would happen. 12 human ships against a Vorthak battle group would be a massacre. "Negative, Commander," Morrison said. "Hold position and wait for orders." Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster looked up from her intelligence station. "Admiral, I am intercepting Vorthak communications. They are demanding that the surviving colonists surrender immediately or face complete elimination." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Morrison knew that every officer around him wanted to fight. They had joined the space fleet to protect humanity, not to watch helplessly while aliens murdered their people. "Get me a channel to Nexus Prime," Morrison ordered. "Emergency council session." The council chamber felt different this time. Morrison could sense tension in the air as the alien representatives took their positions. Word of the Vorthak attack had already spread, and everyone knew why humanity had called for an emergency meeting. War Leader Thexmol sat in his metal throne looking completely relaxed. His red eyes glowed with satisfaction as he watched Morrison enter the chamber. The other alien species looked uncomfortable, but none of them seemed surprised by what had happened. "The Council recognizes the human delegation," Elder Mossitar announced. Morrison stood up and his voice filled the chamber. "The Vorthak Empire has committed an act of unprovoked aggression against human civilians. They have murdered over 2,000 innocent people, including children. We demand immediate action to stop this massacre." Thexmol rose slowly from his throne. His massive form cast shadows across the room as he smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "The Vorthak Empire has simply removed illegal squatters from our territory," he said. "These humans ignored our warnings and established unauthorized settlements in Vorthak space. They brought this upon themselves." Morrison felt his hands clench into fists. Those colonists were families trying to build new lives. They were not soldiers or threats to anyone. "Then they should have chosen their location more carefully," Thexmol replied. "The weak do not get to claim territory that belongs to the strong." Quinara of the Zenthari spoke next. "Perhaps this unfortunate incident could have been avoided if humanity had accepted our offer of protection. The Zenthari Collective still offers to negotiate a treaty that would place human colonies under our guidance." Zephyriel's musical voice filled the chamber. "The Etherian Federation grieves for the lost human lives, but this tragedy shows why young species need supervision. Human minds are not ready for the complexities of galactic politics." Morrison looked around the chamber and realized the horrible truth. The other alien species were not going to help humanity. They saw the Vorthak attack as a lesson that needed to be taught. They wanted humans to know their place in the galactic order. "What happened on Kepler 442b was murder," Morrison said. "If the Council will not act to protect innocent lives, then this organization has no purpose." Elder Mostar spoke in his wind-through-leaves voice. "Young human, your emotions cloud your judgment. The Vorthak acted within their rights as a council member. Perhaps humanity should consider accepting protection from a stronger species." Morrison felt the weight of defeat pressing down on him. The aliens had made their position clear. Humanity was alone and helpless, and they needed to accept whatever scraps the major powers were willing to give them. Captain Danny Rodriguez appeared on Morrison's personal communicator. He was calling from the UES Pioneer, and his face was tight with controlled anger. "Admiral, the Vorthak are moving additional battle groups toward our other colonies. Long-range sensors show at least 50 ships heading for Kepler 438c and Kepler 452b. Morrison closed the communicator and looked back at the Council. Thexmol was watching him with obvious amusement. The Vorthak leader was enjoying this moment of human helplessness. "The Empire will continue to clear illegal settlements from our territory," Thexmol announced. "Any humans who surrender immediately will be relocated to appropriate areas under proper supervision." The other council members nodded their agreement. They were carving up human space like they had discussed 3 weeks earlier. Humanity's 12 ships could not stop 50 Vorthak battlecruisers from destroying every human colony in the sector. Morrison stood up and walked toward the exit. There was nothing more to say here. The aliens had made their decision, and humanity would have to live with the consequences. Barnes was waiting for him outside the chamber. Admiral Earth Command sent another message. Admiral Kate Sullivan herself is asking about Protocol 7. Morrison thought about the 5,000 colonists still trapped on Kepler 442b. He thought about the families on the other human worlds who were about to face the same attack. He thought about how the aliens in the council chamber had laughed while discussing the murder of children. "Send a coded message to Admiral Sullivan," Morrison said. Tell her Protocol 7 is authorized. It is time to show these aliens who they are really dealing with. Barnes looked surprised. Sir, are you sure? Once we activate Protocol 7, there is no going back. Morrison nodded. The aliens think humanity is weak and helpless. They think our 12 ships are all we have. They think they can murder our people without consequences. He paused and looked back at the council chamber. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Lieutenant Colonel Foster was monitoring alien communications when they returned to the Liberty. Admiral the Vorthak are broadcasting surrender demands to all human colonies. They are giving our people 24 hours to evacuate or face destruction. Morrison walked to his command chair and sat down. For 3 years, he had played the role of a weak human leader begging for scraps from superior alien civilizations. For 3 years, he had let them mock humanity's ships and technology. For 3 years, he had followed orders to keep humanity's real capabilities secret. That time was over. Open a channel to all human vessels, Morrison ordered. All ships, all stations. Encryption level Omega Black. The bridge crew looked surprised. Omega Black was the highest level of military encryption. It was reserved for communications that could never be intercepted or decoded by alien technology. All human forces. This is Admiral Morrison. Protocol 7 is now active. Repeat protocol. 7 is active. Begin Phase 1 immediately. Morrison closed the channel and turned to Barnes. Captain, how long until our real fleet arrives? Barnes checked her instruments. First wave should decloak in 6 hours, sir. Full deployment will take 18 hours. Morrison smiled for the first time in weeks. Good. Send a message to the Vorthak. Fleet at Kepler 442b. Tell them they have 24 hours to withdraw from human space or face the consequences. Foster looked confused. Sir, they have 50 battle cruisers. We only have 12 ships. Morrison's smile grew wider. Lieutenant, Colonel, we are about to show the galaxy that humanity has been holding back for a very long time. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched the massive alien space station grow larger on his screens. The station was called Nexus Prime, and it hung in space like a metal city. This was where the Galactic Council met, and where humanity had to prove they belonged among the stars. Morrison had been making this trip for 3 years now. 3 long years of sitting in meetings where alien species treated humans like children, who had just learned to walk. The other races in the council were old and powerful. They had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, while humans had only figured out faster than light travel a few decades ago. Captain Lisa Barnes walked up to Morrison and handed him a data pad. She was his second-in-command and one of the best officers in the human fleet. Barnes had short brown hair and tired eyes that showed how frustrated she was with their situation. "The meeting agenda, sir," she said. "The Vorthak want to discuss territorial claims again. They are talking about the Kepler sector." Morrison felt his jaw tighten. The Kepler sector was where humans had been slowly building colonies for the past 2 years. It was not much, but it was theirs. The problem was that the Vorthak Empire did not see it that way. The Vorthak were a warrior race that looked like walking lizards with too many teeth. They controlled the largest military in the galaxy and never let anyone forget it. Their ships were massive and dark and covered in weapons. Whenever they spoke in council meetings, their voices sounded like rocks grinding together. "What about the other species?" Morrison asked. "Are any of them going to support our claim?" Barnes shook her head. "The Zenthari think we should focus on mining instead of trying to claim territory. The Etherians say our minds are too primitive to understand galactic law. The hive clusters do not care about anything that does not involve their breeding worlds, and the Valdran Republic thinks we are too young to have opinions. This was always how it went. The 5 major powers of the galaxy treated humanity like a pet that had learned a cute trick. The humans had 12 ships in their diplomatic fleet, 12 small vessels compared to the thousands that each alien empire controlled. Morrison looked out at his fleet through the view screen. The Liberty was their biggest ship, and it was smaller than most alien escorts. Commander Ryan Walsh commanded. The frigate UES Defender nearby. Captain Danny Rodriguez had the UES Pioneer on the far side of their formation. All of their ships looked basic and simple compared to the sleek alien vessels around Nexus Prime. Admiral called Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster from her station. Foster was in charge of intelligence, and she always had news that made Morrison's day worse. I am picking up Vorthak communications. They are calling our ships toy boats again. Morrison had heard this before. The aliens loved to mock human technology. They thought human ships were primitive and weak. The Zenthari had scanning equipment that could see through most materials, and they claimed human vessels were barely held together. The Etherians used their psychic powers to read the emotions of human crews and said they felt afraid all the time. The worst part was that the aliens were not entirely wrong. Human ships did look basic compared to alien technology. The Liberty had simple metal hull plating, while Zenthari ships were made from living crystal that could repair itself. Human weapons were basic plasma cannons, while the Vorthak used something called void torpedoes that could tear holes in space. "Take us to the docking bay," Morrison ordered. "Let us get this over with." The council chamber was a huge room with representatives from each species sitting in a circle. The Vorthak delegation sat in chairs that looked like metal thrones. Their leader was War Leader Thexmol, who had scars covering his lizard face and eyes that glowed red in the dim light. The Zenthari sat in floating pods that hummed with energy. They looked like tall, thin humans, but their skin was blue and they had too many fingers. Their representative was called Quinara, and she never stopped taking notes on a device that projected words into the air. The Etherians did not sit at all. They floated above their section of the chamber, surrounded by a soft, golden light. Zephyr El was their speaker, and Morrison could never tell if the being was male or female. The Etherians looked like they were made from starlight, and their voices came from everywhere at once. The hive clusters sent 3 representatives because they could not function alone. They looked like giant insects with 4 arms each, and they spoke in perfect harmony. Morrison never learned their names because they changed every meeting. The Valdran Republic had the oldest representative. Ancient beings that looked like walking trees with too many eyes. Their speaker was called Elder Mossitar, and had been alive since before humans discovered fire. Morrison took his seat in the section marked for humanity. It was smaller than all the others, and placed lower than the rest like they were students, sitting in the front row of a classroom. "The council recognizes the human delegation," announced Elder Mostar in a voice like wind through dead leaves. War Leader Thexmol stood up immediately. His massive form cast shadows across the chamber. "Honored Council, I bring urgent news. The Vorthak Empire has detected unauthorized expansion in the Kepler sector. Primitive vessels have been attempting to establish colonies in space that belongs to the Empire." Morrison felt his blood turn cold. The Vorthak were claiming human colonies as their own. "Those colonies are human settlements," Morrison said as he stood up. "We have been building there for 2 years, with full council knowledge." Thexmol turned his red eyes toward Morrison and smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The human delegate seems confused. The Kepler sector has been Vorthak territory for centuries. Perhaps these humans simply got lost. The other council members made sounds that Morrison had learned meant amusement. They were laughing at him. Quinara spoke next. The Zenthari Collective suggests that humanity focus on activities more suited to their development level. Mining operations, perhaps, or cargo transport. Leave territorial expansion to species with proper military capabilities. Zephyriel's voice filled the chamber like music. The Etherian Federation offers to provide guidance to these young minds. Human consciousness is still developing. They need protection from making dangerous mistakes. Morrison looked around the chamber and saw the same thing he always saw. Alien species that thought humans were children playing with toys they did not understand. They did not see humans as equals. They saw pets that needed to be managed. Humanity claims no territory that is not rightfully ours, Morrison said, but we will defend what is ours. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then Thexmol began laughing. It was a sound like boulders falling down a mountain. Defend with what? The Vorthak leader asked. 12 toy ships, human weapons that could not damage our hull plating. Your species has been in space for barely 50 years. The Vorthak Empire has been conquering worlds since before your son was born. Morrison sat down as the other species continued to discuss how to divide human territory among themselves. They talked about humanity like they were not even in the room. Barnes leaned over and whispered in his ear. Admiral Earth Command sent a coded message. They want to know if we should activate Protocol 7. Morrison had hoped it would not come to this. Protocol 7 was something he had prayed they would never need to use. But as he watched alien species plan to carve up human space like a meal, he realized they might not have a choice. Not yet, he whispered back. But tell them to be ready. The emergency council session began 2 hours after Morrison's ultimatum to the Vorthak Empire. The alien representatives gathered in the chamber, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Gone was the casual arrogance that had marked every previous meeting. The alien delegates sat in their positions with the careful stillness of creatures who suddenly realized they were no longer the predators. Morrison entered the chamber flanked by Captain Barnes and Lieutenant Colonel Foster. The human delegation took their seats, but now the other council members were watching them with expressions that ranged from fear to desperate curiosity. Elder Mostar called the session to order, but his ancient voice lacked its usual authority. The council recognizes the human delegation and demands an immediate explanation for the deception that has been revealed. War Leader Thexmol stood up from his throne, but his massive form no longer seemed intimidating. The Vorthak leader's red eyes showed fear as he spoke. The Empire accuses humanity of violating first contact protocols by concealing military capabilities that exceed all known standards. Morrison remained seated, and his calm voice filled the chamber. The Vorthak Empire is incorrect. Humanity never violated any protocols because we never agreed to reveal our complete military capabilities. You made assumptions about our technology based on the diplomatic vessels we chose to show you. Quinara of the Zenthari leaned forward in her floating pod. Our scans of human vessels showed primitive construction and basic materials. How did you hide such advanced technology from our sensors? Morrison smiled. Your scans detected exactly what we wanted you to detect. The ships, You have been seeing for 3 years are real vessels with real crews. They simply are not our military fleet. Captain Barnes activated a control device, and the chamber's viewing screens showed the UES Liberty floating near Nexus Prime. As the Council watched, the modest cruiser began to change. Hull panels slid away, revealing hidden weapon arrays. The ship's structure unfolded like origami until it was 3 times its original size with enough firepower to level a small moon. The Liberty is our diplomatic vessel, Morrison explained. But like all human ships, it has multiple configurations depending on its mission requirements. The alien representatives stared at the transformed ship in shock. What they had dismissed as humanity's primitive flagship was now obviously a vessel that could destroy their station without effort. Zephyriel's musical voice trembled as they spoke. The Etherian Federation's psychic abilities detected no deception in human minds during our interactions. Morrison nodded. That is correct. We were not being deceptive. We simply operate on mental frequencies that exist outside your perception range. What you read as our complete thoughts were only the surface layer of human consciousness. Foster activated her intelligence display showing energy readings from across the galaxy. Human quantum consciousness allows us to partition our minds into multiple levels. You were reading our diplomatic thoughts while our military planning occurred. In quantum space, Commander Tony Miller's voice came through the chamber's communication system. Admiral, the demonstration fleet is in position, ready to show them what human engineering can accomplish. Morrison stood up and walked to the center of the chamber. Honorable Council, you have spent 3 years treating humanity as a primitive species that needed guidance and protection. You mocked our ships and dismissed our territorial claims. The Vorthak Empire murdered over 2,000 of our civilians because they believed we were too weak to respond. He gestured to the viewing screens, which now showed human vessels throughout the galaxy. Allow me to demonstrate exactly how wrong those assumptions were. The first demonstration came from Captain Kelly Wright, commanding the UHS Defiance near the Zenthari home system. The massive carrier vessel launched a squadron of fighters that immediately engaged in maneuvers no alien pilot could match. The human craft moved through space like they were dancing rather than flying. Human fighters use quantum phase engines that allow them to exist in multiple positions simultaneously, Morrison explained. They can attack from several directions at once while remaining in the same location. The second demonstration involved the UHS Thunder, commanded by Captain Nicole Hayes. The battleship fired its main weapons at an abandoned asteroid in the Vorthak system. The energy beam traveled instantly across space, and when it hit the target, the entire asteroid simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed or vaporized, but removed from reality itself. Thexmol's voice cracked as he spoke. What kind of weapon can erase matter from existence? Morrison looked directly at the Vorthak leader. Quantum disruptors that break the bonds holding atoms together at the subatomic level. The matter does not explode or burn. It simply stops being matter. The third demonstration was the most impressive. Major Sam Parker, commanding a squadron of destroyers, showed the Council what human mobility really looked like. His ships disappeared from their position near Earth and instantly reappeared in orbit around the Etherian capital world 30,000 light-years away. Impossible, Quinara whispered. Faster than light travel requires hyperspace corridors or wormhole generation. Your ships appeared to teleport directly through normal space. Dr. Nicole Hayes joined the communication from her research vessel. Human quantum drive technology does not move ships through space. It moves space around ships. From our perspective, We remain stationary while the universe shifts to bring our destination to us. Elder Mostar spoke in his ancient voice. How long would it take human vessels to reach any location in the galaxy? Morrison consulted his tactical display. With quantum drives, our ships can appear anywhere within a 50,000 light-year radius instantaneously. Beyond that range, travel time increases to approximately 1 hour per 100,000 light-years. The implications hit the alien delegates simultaneously. Humanity could strike any target in the galaxy within hours, and there was no way to predict where they would appear. Traditional defensive strategies became meaningless when the enemy could bypass all warning systems and appear directly in orbit around your home world. The fourth demonstration will show you our defensive capabilities, Morrison announced. Commander Pete Johnson's massive dreadnought UHS Retribution moved into position near a Vorthak fortress world. The alien defense platforms opened fire with everything they had, including their most powerful void torpedoes that could tear holes in space itself. Every weapon simply passed through the human vessel like it was not there. Quantum phase armor allows our ships to exist in multiple dimensional states, Morrison explained. Physical attacks cannot touch us, and energy weapons are absorbed and converted to power our systems. Foster's intelligence readings showed panic spreading through alien communication networks. Military commanders across the galaxy were realizing that their most powerful weapons were useless against human technology. Morrison looked around the chamber at the alien representatives. For 3 years you have treated humanity like children who needed supervision. You divided our territory among yourselves and laughed when we protested. The Vorthak Empire massacred our people because they thought we were helpless. He walked back to his seat but remained standing. You were wrong about everything. Human technology is not primitive. Our ships are not weak. Our minds are not simple. We have been studying your civilizations while you dismissed us as irrelevant. Morrison activated his personal communicator. All human vessels, this is Admiral Morrison. Begin galactic patrol deployment. The viewing screen showed human fleets moving throughout alien space. Ships appeared in orbit around every major world and station. The message was unmistakable. Humanity now controlled space travel in the galaxy and could enforce their will anywhere they chose. From this moment forward, Morrison announced, humanity will serve as the primary peacekeeping force in the galaxy. Our ships will patrol trade routes and protect smaller civilizations from aggressive powers. Any species that threatens peaceful worlds will face human intervention. Thexmol fell to his knees before the human delegation. The Vorthak Empire begs forgiveness for our actions against human civilians. We will provide full reparations and submit to human authority. Morrison nodded. Your apology is accepted, War Leader. The Vorthak will withdraw all forces from human space and pay compensation to the families of those killed on Kepler 442b. Quinara spoke for the Zenthari. The collective requests permission to establish research partnerships with humanity. We offer all of our scientific knowledge in exchange for basic insights into quantum technology. Morrison considered this. Humanity is willing to share defensive technologies with peaceful civilizations. Offensive capabilities will remain under human control. Zephyriel's voice filled the chamber. The Etherian Federation acknowledges human superiority and requests guidance in establishing diplomatic relations. Morrison looked at each alien representative. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We want peaceful coexistence with mutual respect. But we will no longer tolerate aggression against innocent civilizations. Elder Mostar spoke last. The Valdran Republic recognizes the new galactic order. We pledge to support human peacekeeping efforts. 6 months after the revelation, Morrison stood in the same council chamber, but everything had changed. The alien representatives still sat in their traditional positions, but now they waited respectfully for human approval before speaking. The species that had once mocked humanity as primitive children now hung on every word from human delegates. Captain Barnes approached Morrison with the daily briefing. Her uniform now bore the insignia of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force that humanity had established after taking control of space travel between worlds. The transformation in her confidence was remarkable compared to the frustrated officer who had endured years of alien condescension. Admiral the Vorthak have completed their withdrawal from all disputed territories, Barnes reported. War leader Thexmol has personally delivered reparation payments to the families affected by the Kepler massacre. The Empire has also surrendered their most advanced weapon designs as additional compensation. Morrison nodded as he reviewed the data. The mighty Vorthak Empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries now operated under human supervision. Their fleet movements required human approval, and their military actions were monitored by quantum-capable human vessels that could appear anywhere without warning. "What about the other species?" Morrison asked. Barnes consulted her datapad. The Zenthari Collective has established research agreements with Earth Command. They are sharing all their technological knowledge in exchange for basic quantum theory lessons. Progress is slow because their science is based on energy manipulation, while ours uses space-time mechanics. Lieutenant Colonel Foster joined them with intelligence updates. The Etherian Federation has been the most cooperative species, Admiral. They admit that their psychic abilities completely failed to detect human quantum consciousness. Zephyriel has requested permission to study our mental frequencies to expand their understanding of non-physical intelligence. Morrison smiled as he remembered how the Etherians had once offered to guide humanity's primitive minds. Now they were begging to learn from human consciousness that operated on levels they had never imagined existed. Commander Ryan Walsh appeared on the main communication screen from his patrol vessel near the outer rim. "Admiral, we have completed the installation of quantum beacons throughout the galaxy. Human ships can now monitor all space traffic and respond to emergencies within minutes regardless of location." The quantum beacon network was Morrison's solution to maintaining peace across such a vast area. The devices created a communication grid that operated faster than light and allowed human forces to coordinate responses to any threat instantly. Captain Danny Rodriguez contacted them from the former Hive Cluster territory. "Sir, the insectoid species have fully integrated into the new galactic order. Their breeding worlds are now protected by human patrol fleets, and they have begun contributing construction workers to help rebuild damaged systems." Morrison had been surprised by how quickly the Hive clusters adapted to human authority. Unlike the other alien species, they seemed to understand hierarchy and accepted human dominance without resentment. Their 3 representatives now worked together to coordinate their species' contributions to galactic stability. Elder Mostar's ancient voice filled the chamber as the Valdran representative called for attention. "Honored Council, the Republic brings greetings from the outer systems. The trade routes protected by human patrols have seen a 300% increase in commerce. Smaller civilizations that were once afraid to travel between worlds now move freely under human protection." This was exactly what Morrison had hoped to achieve. Instead of using their overwhelming power to conquer and rule, humanity had chosen to protect and serve. Human vessels patrolled every major trade route, ensuring that pirates and raiders could not threaten peaceful merchants. Major Sam Parker reported from his destroyer squadron near the galactic core. "Admiral, we intercepted a group of mercenaries attempting to raid a civilian transport. The raiders surrendered immediately when they detected our quantum signatures. Word is spreading that attacking peaceful vessels brings instant human response." Morrison felt satisfaction at this news. The galaxy was becoming safer as potential aggressors learned that human intervention was swift and unavoidable. Their quantum-capable ships could appear anywhere without warning, making criminal activity extremely risky. Dr. Nicole Hayes joined the briefing from her research station orbiting Earth. "Admiral, the technology sharing program is proceeding ahead of schedule. We have provided defensive shield generators to 47 smaller civilizations and basic medical technology to species that requested assistance." Morrison had insisted that humanity share beneficial technologies while keeping military applications under strict control. Species that demonstrated peaceful intentions received advanced medical equipment and defensive systems. Aggressive civilizations received nothing until they proved they could be trusted. "Sir," Barnes said, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Captain Kelly Wright at the Zenthari home system." Wright's image appeared on the communication screen. Behind her, Morrison could see the massive UHS Defiance floating near the crystal cities of the Zenthari capital world. "Admiral, I wanted to report on the cultural exchange program. Zenthari scientists have been studying human quantum mathematics for 6 months, and they are finally beginning to understand the basic principles. In return, they have shared their knowledge of crystal-based computing, which could improve our ship systems." Morrison was pleased that the exchange programs were working. Rather than hoarding their technological advantages, humanity was selectively sharing knowledge with species that proved they could use it responsibly. Commander Tony Miller's voice came through from his battleship near the frontier regions. "Admiral, the exploration fleets have made contact with 3 new civilizations this month. All 3 have requested human protection after learning about our peacekeeping mission. The discovery of new species had accelerated dramatically since human quantum drives made deep space exploration practical. Ships could now survey distant star systems and return home within hours rather than years. Each new civilization faced the same choice as the original council members: accept human protection and join the galactic community, or remain isolated until they proved they could coexist peacefully." Morrison walked to the center of the chamber and addressed the assembled alien representatives. "Honored Council, we have gathered today to discuss the establishment of permanent galactic governance structures." The alien delegates listened with the careful attention of students rather than the casual arrogance they had once displayed. Morrison could see fear in their eyes, but also gratitude. The galaxy was more peaceful and prosperous than it had been in centuries. Humanity proposes the creation of a galactic senate with representatives from all peaceful civilizations. Morrison announced, "Each species will have voting rights proportional to their population and contribution to galactic stability." Quinara raised her hand to request permission to speak. "The Zenthari Collective supports this proposal. We believe democratic governance will serve all species better than the old system of competing empires." Thexmal stood up from his throne, but his posture was respectful rather than threatening. "The Vorthak Empire pledges loyalty to human leadership and supports the creation of a Senate. We understand that our past actions have damaged our reputation, but we hope to earn redemption through service." Morrison nodded approvingly. "All species will have the opportunity to participate in galactic government regardless of past conflicts. However, military force will remain under human control to prevent the return of aggressive expansion." Zephyriel's musical voice filled the chamber. The Etherian Federation requests permission to serve as diplomatic mediators in the new Senate. Our experience with different forms of consciousness may help resolve conflicts between species. Morrison considered this request. The proposal is acceptable provided all parties agree to mediation. Elder Mossatar spoke in his ancient voice. The Valdran Republic offers to serve as historical advisors to the Senate. Our long memory may help prevent the repetition of past mistakes. Foster activated the tactical display showing human ships throughout the galaxy. Green dots represented peaceful systems under human protection. Yellow dots showed species still being evaluated for Senate membership. Red dots marked the few remaining aggressive civilizations that refused to accept the new order. As of today, 93% of known civilizations have accepted human peacekeeping protection, Foster reported. The remaining 7% consist of isolated species that have not yet made contact, and 3 aggressive empires that continue to threaten their neighbors. Morrison studied the display. What is the status of the aggressive empires, Barnes? Consulted her data. The Krex Dominion attempted to raid a peaceful mining world last week. Commander Johnson's dreadnought appeared in their home system 12 minutes later and demanded an explanation. The Dominion immediately recalled their raiders and requested negotiations. Morrison smiled. The speed of human response was changing, the calculations of every military leader in the galaxy. Traditional strategy assumed days or weeks to mount a response to aggression. Human